Hello, True Health Seeker, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. I'm so excited for you to listen to today's interview with Dr. Greger. Now, he only does half an hour interviews, so I had to be very on point with my questions to get as much information out of him as possible. One big message that he brings is how you can heal your body and prevent disease with food. And if you have a disease, you can actually reverse it with nutrition. If you'd like to learn how to cook in a way that heals the body, that is in alignment with how Dr. Greger teaches, please join the Learn True Health Home Kitchen. I designed a membership where I teach with my friend Naomi how to cook food that is delicious, that's healing for the body, and that your whole family will love. So come join the membership and check it out. You'll also be supporting the Learn True Health podcast and helping me to continue to produce interviews like this when you join the Learn True Health Home Kitchen. So go to learntruehealth.com/home kitchen. That's learntruehealth.com/home kitchen. Come check it out and just learn how to bring more nutrient-dense foods into your diet to heal your body and support your body's ability to prevent and reverse disease. Excellent. Thank you so much for being a listener. Thank you so much for sharing this podcast with those you love. Enjoy today's interview. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 433. I am very excited for today's guest. Dr. Greger, you are quite an honored guest to have here today. My best friend my best friend and I are both whole food plant-based, and she just wants you to know that if you ever become single, she would leave her husband for you. You've got a lot of fans. You've got a lot of fans here. We're big admirers of your work, your books, How Not to Die, How Not to Diet, and then you have a latest one, How to Survive a Pandemic, and I can't wait to talk about that. Your website, nutritionfacts.org, is fascinating. I highly recommend everyone go to it and use it. How do you do everything you do? Like, you're constantly pumping out books and articles and videos. You must have a huge team of to support you. Either that or you have a troubling meth problem. I don't know. You're just always producing amazing things. So we're really in awe of you.
Aw, that's very sweet. I do indeed have this fantastic staff, not only 14 folks on staff in the nonprofit Nutrition Facts, but we have about 200 active volunteers at any one time.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, we have this tremendous team of folks all churning out wonderful, life-changing, life-saving information. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's quite controversial asking people to change their diet to reverse and prevent disease, especially since the government puts out their recommendations. And according to what they put out, that's like a disease-causing diet. So there's so much controversy. MDs are not trained in nutrition. You have to go above and beyond as an MD to learn how to heal with food. Can you tell us about what happened in your life that made you want to help people heal with food?
Sure. It was really all thanks to my grandmother. I was just a kid when the doctor sent my grandma home in a wheelchair to die. She was diagnosed with end-stage heart disease. She basically already had so many bypass operations, the surgeons basically run out of plumbing at some point, confined in a wheelchair, crushing chest pain. Her life was over at age 65. But then she heard about this guy, Nathan Pritikin, one of our early lifestyle medicine pioneers. And what happened next is actually detailed in Pritikin's biography. He talks about Frances Greger, my grandmother. They wheeled her in, and she walked out. In fact, within a few weeks, she was walking 10 miles a day. And and though she was given a medical death sentence at age 65, thanks to a healthy diet, went on to live another 31 years till age 96 to continue to enjoy her 6 grandkids, including me. That's why I went into medicine. That's why I started nutritionfacts.org. That's why I wrote the book How Not to Die, and why 100% of the proceeds I get from all my books are donated to charity. I just want to do for everyone's family what Pritikin did for my family.
How do you make an income then if everything you do seems to fund amazing charities?
Oh, I'm on staff at nutritionfacts.org.
Oh, okay.
So those of you who make, I'm the chief science officer. Those who make donations to the 501c3 nonprofit Nutrition Facts, they are helping me put kale on the table.
I love it. Speaking of kale, you've mentioned kale as being one of your favorite superfoods. What other foods should we eat every day or at least every week, and why?
Oh, well, that's the second half of my book, How Not to Die. The first half is just 15 chapters on each of the 15 leading causes of death, talking about the role diet may play in preventing, arresting, reversing each of our top 15 killers. But I didn't want it to just be a reference book. I wanted it to be a practical guide on, translating this mountain of data into day-to-day grocery store type decisions. And so to that end, the second half of the book centers around my recommendations around a daily dozen checklist of all the things I try to fit into my daily routine. So, for example, berries every day, the healthiest types of fruits; greens every day, the healthiest types of vegetables; tablespoon of ground flaxseed, quarter teaspoon of turmeric; and the best beverages, best sweeteners, how much exercise to get. Basically, just try to motivate people to include some of the healthiest of healthy foods into their daily diet.
You discuss blue zones, or at least we see that there's so much information coming out of blue zones, and there's controversy because some blue zones consume meat. There's one that doesn't. Some blue, the one in Italy is all about olive oil. Apparently, olive oil is the cure and the best thing we could ever do. We don't know what the driver is. We have to look at the similarities, and you have to obviously you pour through the science. You're all about science-based nutrition. What is the commonality in all the blue zones that really make the difference, that if we applied the same principles to our lifestyle and diet, we would get the same result?
What they all share in common. So again, blue zones are areas where the greatest human longevity, so the most centenarians per capita, for example, the people who live over 100 years old. And so what does every single one of them share in common? They eat a diet centered around whole plant foods, and their primary source of protein is some form of legume: beans, split peas, chickpeas, or lentils. So, for example, the Okinawan Japanese, the second longest living population in the world, eats about a 97% plant-based diet. Focused, actually, 70% of the calories are sweet potatoes. It's basically a vegetable-centered diet. The only formally studied population that lives longer is the Seventh-day Adventist vegetarians in Loma Linda, California. They live longer than anybody else, and they don't eat any meat at all.
I just heard a really troubling statistic. I was listening to a White House presentation this week about lowering the cost of insulin, and I heard that 1 in 3 senior citizens are on insulin. And that really disturbed me, that the level of insulin use is that high. The level of type 2 diabetes continues to rise. Now, there's so much controversy because in the mainstream, sugar and carbs and sweet potatoes would be the cause of insulin issues or needing insulin and diabetes. But you propose that a plant-based or plant-centered diet would actually help to reverse diabetes. Can you explain why?
So, I mean, it's not controversial in the medical literature. It's just controversial in, internet land, where even the roundness of the earth is in question. But no, the science is very clear. Type 2 diabetes and prediabetes is caused by insulin resistance. Your body is resistant to the effects of the insulin that your body produces. And what's that caused by? That's caused and this is not controversial. This is, if you look at the peer-reviewed medical literature, it's caused by excess what's called intramuscular lipid. This is fat that's stuck inside your muscle cells and inside your liver cells in the context of excess calories. So it's caused by fat. And now that can be fat that's going in your mouth, or it can be excess fat that's on your body. Either way, we have high levels of free-floating fat in the bloodstream, which clogs up your muscle and liver cells, impairs their ability to respond to insulin, and you can end up with type 2 diabetes, which is the leading cause of adult onset blindness and amputations and kidney failure. So, yeah, it's no good. And now we have 2 pandemics colliding, a pandemic of obesity and diabetes colliding with the infectious disease pandemic. And, it's it's important to realize that the underlying risk factors for COVID-19 severity and death: obesity, high blood pressure, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, all of which can be controlled or even reversed with a healthy enough plant-based diet and lifestyle.
What about this keto phenomena? I know it used to be Atkins back in the day, right? And then it was, paleo, and now it's keto. And it's just this more, I think people like to think that they can reverse disease if they eat a bunch of meat and fat and avoid those really evil carbohydrates. People see really good results in the short term with keto, but that's increasing fat. And wouldn't that thus increase, according to what you just said, wouldn't that increase insulin resistance and have poor outcomes in the long term?
Within short term, within days, you increase insulin resistance with ketogenic diet. In fact, the largest chapter in my book, How Not to Diet, is on, I talk about ketogenic diets, and the data is very clear. People love hearing, good news about their bad habits. So any book that comes out and tells people to eat bacon and butter, obviously, is going to sell better than those that come out and tell people to eat broccoli. But the science is very clear. In fact, switching to a ketogenic diet actually cuts rate of fat loss in half. After switching to a ketogenic diet, because you're actually cannibalizing your own protein, but you get the loss in water weight, which flushes out the ketones, and so you can get this dramatic. Looking at the bathroom scale, ketogenic diet seemed like a smashing success, but what we care about is not loss of water or protein. What we care about is loss of body fat, and actually body fat loss slows down. That's why CrossFit trainees placed on a ketogenic diet, their leg muscles shrink as much as 8% within 2 months. Exercise is supposed to make your muscles bigger, not smaller, but that's what happens when you go on a ketogenic diet. Not a good idea.
Now, originally, the ketogenic diet was created to mimic fasting so that children with epilepsy could stay on it long term. What about fasting? There's so many health benefits to fasting being promoted out there. What are your thoughts on fasting, and should we do it on a regular basis?
I talk about all types of fasting: alternate day fasting, intermittent fasting, 5-2 fasting, 25-5 fasting, mimicking diets, time restricted feeding. And bottom line, there are benefits from early time restricted feeding, meaning narrowing your eating window. 12 hours or less, but critically, that's in the morning rather than the evening. So if anything, you skip supper, not breakfast. And that has a variety of benefits, both chronobiologically, based on our circadian rhythms, as well as metabolically, and talk about all the benefits. And it's really quite extraordinary. We should not be eating after sundown. I encourage people to fast after 7 p.m., and try to weight their greatest caloric intake towards the beginning of the day.
Now, you have a book, How to Survive a Pandemic. Is it out already, or are you still releasing it?
It is out as of Tuesday, May 26th.
Very cool. Tell us about How to Survive a Pandemic, and why should we read it?
I try to cover everything there is to know to protect ourselves and our families from the coronavirus. Everything from optimal respiratory and hand hygiene, surface disinfection, masks, how to make your own hand sanitizer, etc. But the best way to survive a pandemic is to prevent it in the first place. And so the bulk of the book actually centers around tracing the origins of the COVID coronavirus and what we can do to prevent even greater infectious disease threats in the future.
Based on your research, because you love to look at the science and then decide what is the best route based on the results. So you're not just, you're not choosing diet dogma. I think that doctors who like to share that a plant-based diet is healing for the body tend to get criticized, because those who see that there's a study that says that this meat is healthy, or this fish is healthy, or this dairy is healthy, and then they like to discredit them. But you like to look at the science and the results and then share that and go, listen, this is, don't listen to me, listen to the results, listen to the science. But based on your research, is there a one diet fits all? If we put 100% of the population on one way of eating, would we be able to reverse all disease? Or do there need to be certain tweaks? Let's say someone who's a bodybuilder versus a 90-year-old grandmother versus someone with fatty liver disease. Should they all be on slightly different diets based on their nutritional needs?
The good news is that we have tremendous power over our health, destiny, and longevity. The vast majority of premature death and disability is preventable with a plant-based diet and other healthy lifestyle behaviors. Just like smoking is bad for everybody. There's not some people what smoking is good for. Eating a healthy diet is good for everybody. It's like, I mean, there are things that are good for your body and bad for your body. So yeah, now some people have allergy specific foods, so are like peanuts bad for you? Well, if you have a peanut allergy, it can kill you, but otherwise, no. I mean, and so the same kind of thing. So the people are lactose intolerant. That would affect some people have different caffeine metabolism rates. So coffee affects them a little differently. But it's not like there's people out there where hot dogs are good for them or broccoli is bad for them. Yeah, I mean, so if you go to truehealthinitiative.org, this is an initiative set forth by Yale's Prevention Research Center, which asks hundreds of the top nutrition scientists in the world to agree on a consensus statement as to what the healthiest diet is. Just like you want to know about climate change, you go to the IPCC. What do the climate change scientists have to say, right? And so the same thing. And so you can see that there's a consensus as to the core tenets of healthy eating and living going back decades, and that is centering one's diet around whole, healthy plant foods.
You have given many video talks and lessons on your website, nutritionfacts.org. Which one out of all of them are you the most proud of?
Oh, wow. What a great question. Thousands of videos. If I could remember half of them, that would be... every time I put out a book, I do a new talk and a kind of an hour-long presentation where I, pick all the kind of most kind of, practical, groundbreaking, interesting bits together. And so then it gives you kind of this broad overview. And so those are probably my favorite talks. So I have one for how not to diet. I have one for how not to die. So I mean, those are probably the talks I'm most proud of. Though I yet have to have a hour-long presentation about how to survive a pandemic, but I do have about 3 hours worth of videos coming up. 17 videos starting at the end of June. No, not the end of June. The end of May, running through July on nutritionfacts.org.
Well, we'll look out for them for sure. As a doctor, as you've been studying and taking your own initiative to study nutrition outside of school, because that's what doctors have to do in order to really, really learn the truth. And as you've been helping people, what one story stands out for you? What healing story, what surprised you? Like someone who actually healed their body that you were really surprised that they were able to heal using nutrition?
Well, so it's diseases for which we didn't think there was that they were reversible. So, for example, we didn't think heart disease was reversible until Pritikin came along and showed that was indeed the case. Diabetic retinopathy, diabetic blindness, we thought that was irreversible. You get worse, and you go blind. Nope, that can be reversed to a healthy diet. Even there's 2 case reports that just came out suggesting that caught early enough, even type 1 diabetes may be able to help with a healthy diet. There was the first case report on ankylosing spondylitis, this horrible autoimmune condition attacking the spine. Never had any data on that, but nope. Plant-based diet helps with that too. No surprise, an anti-inflammatory diet helps with inflammatory condition. But those are the most exciting things, these kind of reversal. We have new data on lupus, which is another autoimmune condition, with beneficial effects, not just for kidney function, which we had already known, but for other symptoms as well. Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis. These are, just really exciting to see diseases for which there were no good options. Where the kind of traditional approaches are so... have such downsides in terms of adverse effects. So that's the most exciting work out there.
What question am I not asking that you'd love to answer?
I don't know. What's Nutrition Facts? Nutrition Facts is a free, nonprofit, science-based public service providing daily updates on the latest nutrition research via bite-sized videos, more than 1,000 videos on nearly every aspect of healthy eating, with new videos and articles uploaded every day on the latest in evidence-based nutrition. What a concept! nutritionfact.org.
For those who are not used to the whole food plant-based diet but are intrigued, can you share, like, what do you eat? What do you eat? What have you eaten in the last 24 hours? What do you eat? And maybe you could share a recipe, like one of your favorite recipes that would get people excited about trying to eat more plants.
The Daily Dozen is what I eat. The reason the Daily Dozen came around is because I wanted to eat an evidence-based diet, and so I'm just sharing that with everybody. In terms of what I eat in 24 hours, I had a big bowl of homemade miso soup for lunch and some cherries. It's cherry season, and oh my God, they're delicious. And then this morning I had my prebiotic mix, which is a combination of oat groats, purple barley, rye berries, and blue lentils, mixed with cocoa powder, dark sweet frozen cherry, so it's kind of like chocolate covered cherry action, with some nuts and seeds, and yeah, that was delicious. And then what did I have last night? What was that? Last night I had these blue corn tortillas, which I toasted, and mixed with kind of a fajita mix, which was onions and peppers and black beans and salsa and some hummus to make it kind of creamy, with some adobe sauce, some smoked jalapeno peppers. It was nice and spicy. Oh, and threw a whole bunch of greens in there. And so, yeah, kind of a tortilla kind of action. And then in terms of, what might be particularly motivating, I think it's important to realize there's only one diet ever proven to reverse heart disease in the majority of patients. It's a plant-based diet. And so, anytime anyone tries to sell you on some new diet, do me a favor, just ask them a simple question. Wait a second. Has this new diet been proven to reverse heart disease? The number one reason me and all my loved ones will die? The answer is no. Why would you even consider it, right? I mean, if that's all a plant-based diet could do, reverse the number one killer of men and women, shouldn't that kind of be the default diet until proven otherwise? In fact, that can also be so effective in preventing, arresting, and reversing other leading killers like high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes, which seem to make the case for plant-based eating simply overwhelming.
I love that you mentioned your app, Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen. I have that on my phone. I think it's a really cool app, and I definitely recommend it. So I've had Dr. Cadwell Esselstyn on the show, and I just love that he so clearly says, here's the way to eat to reverse heart disease. Being a cardiologist, still practicing. I think he's 86. I'm sure you guys are friends. But what's really frustrating is I've had other cardiologists on the show who say we should drink like a liter of olive oil a week, that it's, the most healthy thing we could possibly do for our heart. And I'm really frustrated because when I learned that the damages that oil can have on the body, can you just talk about, is oil healthy? Is it not healthy? How do we get healthy fats? Could we become fat deprived by not eating fat? Can you just demystify fat and oil for us?
Oil is kind of the white sugar of the fat kingdom. So you take something like a sugar beet, which is really healthy. You remove all the nutrition, you're left with just sugar. So it's empty calories. Same thing. You take a walnut, remove all the nutrition, left with walnut oil. It's just empty calories. Now there's a few fat soluble nutrients like vitamin E, but basically you just throw out all the fiber, throw out the minerals, throw out the rest of the nutrition. So it's like, why would you do that? Right? If you want to eat olive oil, fine, eat an olive. The problem is it has too much sodium in it. So eat an avocado, eat nuts and seeds. Eat whole food sources. So how are we going to get carbohydrates? Whole food sources. Whole plant food sources. How are we going to get protein? Whole food plant sources. How are we going to get fat? Whole food plant sources. These are the healthiest, not only because of the stuff that doesn't have, like cholesterol, saturated fat, and hormones, all that, blah, 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 but as all the beneficial things that you that you want, like the antioxidants and the fiber, phytonutrients, etc. Now there are some essential fats, the omega-3s, omega-6s, but that's one of the reasons I recommend people eat a tablespoon of ground flax seeds a day to get their alpha-linolenic acid and omega-3 fatty acid, which is important for protecting against cardiovascular disease.
My dad died of obesity and heart disease, but he survived my mother, who was seemingly healthier, died of cancer at age 55. And that was the shocker in our family. She died very quickly of liver cancer because she was very healthy on the outside.
Right.
What we want to obviously prevent heart disease being the number one killer. We obviously want to prevent infection. That's the big focus right now. Many people are turning to comfort foods and alcohol to just get through this crazy time, which in turn is actually hurting them more. Cancer is one of those big things that looms over us, at least over me, something even scarier than heart disease. What can we do to reverse cancer? If someone has cancer, what evidence-based nutrition should they do to reverse cancer?
After Dr. Dean Ornish conquered our number one killer, heart disease, he moved on to killer number two, cancer. Took a group of men with early-stage prostate cancer, put them on the same kind of diet that reversed heart disease, and for the first time ever showed that diet and lifestyle intervention could reverse the progression of cancer as measured by PSA levels, which is a proxy for tumor volume. And in the control group that was told to just eat whatever your doctor was telling you, the tumors continued to grow, whereas in the group that was randomized to a plant-based diet and lifestyle program, the tumors shrank on average, first ever shown. And so the nice thing about diet is regardless of what other choices you make in terms of whether you're doing radiotherapy or chemotherapy, you can always eat healthier.
Very interesting. Should we limit the amount of nuts and seeds, like the plant-based fats, or could someone go eat as much like peanuts, for example, as they want to? Is there like a ratio of, even though it's plant-based, is there a ratio of carbs to fat to protein that is optimal?
The most important thing is the source, not the quantity. And so as long as you're getting your macronutrients from whole plant sources, that's the most important thing. The only way you could overeat, that's all you ate, obviously. That wouldn't be a good thing. But I encourage people to eat an ounce of nuts a day. So it's like a palm full of nuts. Critically important, one of the few foods, along with dark green leafy vegetables, associated with literally years of extended lifespan.
And peanuts are not nuts, they're legumes, right?
That's true, but they're nutritionally similar enough that they actually have the same type of benefits. The downside is that when we expose nuts and seeds to high dry heat, they produce these advanced glycation end products. When you expose high protein fat foods to high heats, you get these AGEs, which we want to minimize, and so that's why I encourage people to eat their nuts and seeds raw. But you can't really find raw peanut butter, for example, but you can find raw almond butter, so that would be a better choice.
And you can make your own if you have like a Vitamix or something.
You can make your own, exactly.
And that was my question, was the high heat or the roasted nuts and roasted, we just need to basically eat the raw ones to preserve the healthy fats. My last question, because I know you have to go, autoimmune disease is on the rise. Some autoimmune conditions are exacerbated by like nightshades, some grains. What do we do to help people with autoimmune disease to recover?
You put them on a whole food plant-based diet. The most powerful intervention that's ever been published in the peer-reviewed medical literature for multiple sclerosis, an autoimmune disease where you attack your own nerves. The most powerful intervention for Crohn's disease, an autoimmune inflammatory bowel disease. We now have data for benefits for ulcerative colitis, lupus, ankylosing spondylitis, rheumatoid arthritis, you name the autoimmune condition. And odds are we have data supporting an anti-inflammatory diet, which is essentially synonymous with a plant-based diet. Now it's true there's autoimmune disease known as celiac disease, for which gluten can be a triggering inflammatory trigger, and for those rare 1 in 140 so people, need to stay away from gluten-containing grains like wheat, barley, and rye. But those are healthy foods for the vast majority of people. People with joint pain, about 1 in 20. Feel better after cutting nightshades out. So, hey, might as well worth a try. But if it doesn't help your joint pain, I would put those super healthy foods back into one's diet.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Greger, for coming on the show today. It's been such a pleasure to have you here. Leave us with some homework. Leave us with some actionable steps we can take today to improve our health.
Oh my God, you should go to your local public library, get How Not to Die, How Not to Diet, and How to Survive a Pandemic.
And go to nutritionfacts.org and pour through your thousands of videos.
Do it.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show today. You're welcome back anytime.
Keep up the good work.
I hope you enjoyed today's interview. Please share it with those you care about. Let's get this information out to help as many people as possible to learn true health. And come join the Facebook group. Search Learn True Health in Facebook or go to learntruehealth.com/group and join the Facebook group. It's a wonderful, supportive community. We're all in this together to learn what we can do to tweak our diet, our lifestyle, supplements, whatever we can do to just switch it over to build the body into a place that develops health instead of disease. We can heal the body. The body has an amazing ability to heal itself. Even if you've been told you're going to have this for the rest of your life, I have met so many people, myself included, who have reversed diseases and illnesses that they were told by doctors they'd always have for the rest of their life. So don't give up hope. Instead, dive in. Listen to more episodes of the Learn True Health podcast. Come join the Facebook group. There is hope. As long as you're living and breathing, as long as you have a pulse, your body can heal itself. You can do many things to support your body's ability to heal itself. And I'm so happy that you're here to learn how you can optimize your health through every meal, through every breath. There's so many things you can do mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and energetically. And that's exactly what this podcast is here to help you with. So please dive in, keep listening. Make sure that you share this episode and share the podcast with those you love so we can help as many people as possible. And come join the Facebook group so that you can keep learning and keep asking questions and keep growing. Thank you so much for being a listener. Thank you so much for sharing. And have yourself a fantastic rest of your day.